Hey everyone, it's Bethany. Welcome back. In this video, I am unboxing this little mini evolution. So I've been kind of thinking about getting more of a miniature size die cut machine for a couple months now, and I finally went ahead and purchased this because I thought it was a pretty good price and I wanted to unbox this and take it for a little test run. So it just came in the mail. I have yet to open it and I thought we could go ahead and do that together. So again, this is the mini evolution and I'm just going to kind of go over some of its features. The reason I really wanted to get it is because I wanted something that was going to be really quick and easy to grab just for quick projects. And so I like, again, it says it's portable. And then another thing is that it has the tabletop suction, which is really nice because you're not having to steady the machine while you are feeding your dies through it. So that's really nice as well. And it does come with a variety of things. So you of course get the machine, and then you get a variety of cutting plates. And then looks like you get, are these embossing folders? Looks like embossing folders, a variety of 8 dies. It looks like they're circle nesting dies, and then some cardstock. So let's just go ahead and open this up, take a look at it, and let's take it for a little test run. Okay, so looks like we have a couple little instructions here, or maybe this is just kind of giving us an idea for the sandwiches. So I'm going to keep this. So it's giving us an idea for how we're going to create our sandwiches for doing either die cutting or for embossing. So that will be really handy to have. And oh, look how tiny they are. These are the tiny little cutting plates. Oh, and the embossing folders. Teeny tiny. How cute are these? Okay, so as you can tell, this would be for some smaller projects. So that will be one thing you'll want to note. I do have full-size die cutting machines that I can use when doing larger projects, but this is definitely going to limit the size of project that you have in front of you. Although I will say, for a lot of my projects, that would be just fine, especially when I'm just doing some stamping projects. Here are the little nesting dies. They look like they're stitched as well, so that's really fun. This looks to be the cardstock. So we have some cardstock in white, and then it looks like we have some in ivory as well. And now let's find the actual machine. Okay, so here is the actual little machine. How cute is that? So it's really small. It's actually pretty heavy. So that's nice too, because despite its size, it seems like it's actually really durable, which is nice. It looks like right here we have our lock and unlock feature. So once we place it onto our surface, we can, I'm guessing, press this down. And then, oh, that's so nice. It is really on there. It's locked right in. Okay, that right there, if we stop there, I am super happy. Oh my goodness, I love that. So I could set it off to the side, still have my work surface, lock this down. I wouldn't even need to steady it with my other hand. Well, let's just test everything out. But it seems to be super, super stuck tight right there. So I want to go ahead and take some of the paper out. I'm referencing the little guide here to show me what I will need to do both a die cut and also to do an embossing folder. So let's see, I guess I didn't really show these. So we have the embossing folders and the dies, but then it looks like we have kind of a base plate, if you will, and then our, well, I guess these are called a buffer plate. So they do have little letters on them. This one is B, this is E. So buffer plate is B, and then embossing plate is E. Okay, so let's reference that. First and foremost, let's take out our paper. Okay, so I have a little piece of paper here. It's not incredibly thick. I wouldn't even say it's 80 pound. I probably could find that on the box, but yeah, this is some pretty thin cardstock. So let's go ahead and do let's do a little circle first. I just want to get a feel for if the little recommended sandwiches with the plates are accurate. So I like that these are stitched. I don't know that I have a stitched circle die in my collection, so that's really fun. I'll just go with this little, let's see, fourth one in. And it looks like for a die cut, oh, can you see that? It might have stolen focus. So for a die cut, it looks like we are going to do our cutting plate, our paper with the die, and then the buffer plate. Okay, so we have the cutting plate, paper with the die, and then our buffer plate. Okay, B for buffer. That'll be easy enough. Okay, and then again, I have this all suctioned down. So I'm just gonna nestle that right in there. And send that through. It is so suctioned down though that I do not need to do any type of steadying with my left hand. I can just use my right hand on the little turny bit there. I don't even know what that's called. Handle. Okay. And then we have our little, oh cute, die cut circle. How cute is that? I love the little stitched look on there. That's super fun. Okay, so that worked wonderfully. I'm gonna go ahead and save these pieces for another project. And I'm gonna put this right back on here. That way I don't lose it. And let's grab another piece of cardstock. So now I have a piece of cardstock. I have two embossing folders from which to choose from. I have one that is more of a dot and one that has some lines on it. Let's go ahead and use this one. That looks fun. One thing that I like to do that I have built into my workflow lately is I like to grab a little wet wipe and just kind of soften and open up the little fibers of the paper prior to sending it. Ooh, that is not a very wet wipe. Hold on. There we go. Much better. Okay, so again, just prior to sending that through, just kind of get that all ready to go. Okay, so now I'm going to take my little paper, put it in this little embossing folder. There we go. And then, let's see here. I'm gonna reference this and it says we're going to do, oh, so we're not even gonna use this at all. Okay, so that's just cutting. Then we're going to use the embossing plate, the embossing folder with the paper inside, and then our buffer plate. So E for embossing plate, B for buffer plate. Okay, let's move that to the side and I'm gonna push that in. And again, it is so suctioned down on my work surface that I'm not having to, you know, cradle it and steady it with my other hand, which is super nice. Okay. Go ahead and see how that turned out. Open this up and look at that. How cute. Now let me see what the measurements are. It's kind of off camera, but I have my mat here. That measures 3 inches by 5 inches. Isn't that fun? I really like that. That's so fun. Okay, let's go ahead and make a card. How about we do that? I think that would be really, really fun. We will potentially use this. I'm not sure. Let's just see where creativity takes us. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and remove this. We'll bring it back in. Of course, it's the star of the show today. And then I'm going to go ahead and start by building up my card base. Okay, here is my score buddy, and I have 110 pound, and this is sized at 11 by 4 1/4. I'll grab my little scoring tool here and I'm going to score right at 5.5, and then I'm just going to set that to the side, fold, and I will make that crease right there. So this is going to give me my top folding A2 size card, and that is a final measurement of 4 1/4 by 5.5. Okay, so this is our card base that we are going to build our card upon. Okay, so here is what I'm thinking. I'm bringing in that little embossed panel, and I am kind of having fun with, even though it's not completely even around the edges, I think we can have fun with this. So what I was thinking is I have this really fun little wafer die from Simon Says Stamp. It says, "You are my joy." And I really like how it takes the shape with our little embossed panel, and I think that we could have fun building a fun card with all of this. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm actually going to recut out a piece of cardstock, only because I'm really picky when my cardstock doesn't match, and I'm finding that this white is different than this white. I know you can totally roll your eyes at me, but that's something that actually does bother my eye. Let me know if you're the same or if that doesn't bother you as much, but let me go ahead and recut out this panel, and then I'm going to emboss that once more. So I'll grab some 80-pound cardstock, and I have my mini trimmer here, and I will cut this down to 3 inches by 5 inches, the same as all of those little pieces of cardstock that were included. And let's go ahead and emboss this again. Now you could switch out for some colored cardstock. That would be really fun as well. I really like that white on white look, especially because I think what I'll do is I'm going to bring in some color with the little wafer die. Okay, let's think about our sandwiches. I'm going to try not to look at the cheat sheet. I'm going to see if I can do this on my own. Embossing plate, buffer plate. I do want to do this again. I think that is super fun. And again, I'm going to take a wet wipe. Let's see, move those there. Just get my paper nice and damp. There we go. Open up my embossing folder, place my cardstock right inside. Okay. And let's make sure this is nice and straight though, because I don't want to trim this down any further. So I want that to be nice and straight. Okay. There we go. Oops. Okay. So then it's going to go E, embossing folder with paper inside, and then B. There we go. Everything is locked down. So I can just kind of push those plates in, begin rolling. Okay. And there we go. And now, oh, look at that. So pretty. So this cardstock is 80-pound Neenah Solar White, and I have 110-pound same brand, and I just like how that matches better. I think it looks a little bit better, and those little details kind of matter to me, but you can skip that step if you want to use the included cardstock. I also like that this is a little bit thicker. Again, this is 80-pound. Okay, let's set these to the side and set our plates to the side. And let's have fun let's bring in some more cardstock and play around with let's do some ink blending. That would be really fun. You know what? I never venture towards the cooler side of the rainbow, so I'm going to do that. Let's just walk on the wild side. I'm going to use Sprout, Tide Pool, and Lilac, all from Concord and 9th, and we're going to do a little ink blending and have some fun just bringing to life this really pretty wafer die with some color. I realized just recently that some of my A2 panels accidentally got bent. I like to pre-cut my panels, but a couple of them, well, more than a couple, let's be honest, it was quite a handful of them, have a nice crease in them. So I was a little bummed, but I like to save those to the side for projects like this. So I want to get an idea for how much, well, it's in fact pretty much all the way to that crease that I'm going to play around with some ink blending. But let's start with Sprout. And I'm also going to use some of my little scrap paper here just as a little tap-off paper. And I'm going to have fun ink blending. Okay, I'm just going to turn this around and I'm going to go from this side just because I feel a little bit more confident. And that is the secret to crafting, always making a choice that makes you feel the most confident when you're crafting. Okay. So that looks good. For this kind of technique where you're going to do a die cut out of a little ink blended area, do not stress about perfection over your ink blending, because believe it or not, you will not notice any imperfections once you do your little die cut. moving on to Tide Pool. That's pretty. Okay, I'm going to do, oop, got a little blotchy there. But again, I'm not going to panic. Only inside will panic a little bit. So you can always pick which portion looks the best to cut out. Okay. That is looking a hot mess, isn't it? We'll get it exactly where we need it though. It's gonna be fine. Okay, so now I'm just gonna bring back my green brush. And then my more teal brush, just to kind of help with that transition. Okay, I promise it's going to be fine. Move on to Lilac. Ooh, this is pretty. I actually have not used this color yet at all. How pretty is that? Oh, I like it. I never really think to use purple, and I'm not quite sure why, because I really like a soft purple. So when Concord 9th released their new colors and they had a really nice light purple, I was really excited because I really, really like a soft, more pastel purple. Okay. Let's transition those together a little bit better. And I might even just bring a little bit more here. And here. Okay. Now, this is looking a little crazy, right? But let's go ahead and grab our little wafer die. Now, as you can recall, our little cutting plates are much smaller than this. So what we need to do is trim this down just a little bit. You can use some scissors. In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do. We want to make sure that it fits within our plate size. Now our plates, they are 3 inches by 6.5 inches. So we really don't need to worry about height here, but we definitely need to trim off the sides. Okay, because width will be where we are needing to be a little bit more aware. All right, now before I do anything else though, I need to trim apart my little wafer die. And I have these little snips here, so I will go ahead and just trim these apart. Just like that. Okay, and then I'll go back through and actually get all of the tiny little pieces off, because if you don't, they will actually leave a little impression in your paper and you'll actually see those little press points. And it's not the end of the world, but if you can just take a moment to remove those, you'll just have a little bit more of a polished cut. Okay, so let's start with "You Are My Joy," the actual letters here. And I'm going to set it here because I want to get all of those colors. Let me grab some tape. I was giggling because I mentioned in a recent video that I love buying washi tape. I'm just very attracted to the patterns. It's the same for me as patterned paper. I love buying it, but I find that I don't use it for its intended purpose. So my goal this year is to not buy any additional crafting tape to secure my dies. I'm going to use my washi tape up. Okay, let's grab our sandwich. I feel like I'm just a collector of a washi tape. I love it. Okay, so we have this, our paper with our die, and then B, right? Is that right? I think so. B for, what was it? Buffer. Okay, let's put all these away. Bring our little machine right back in, and let's send this through. Okay. And not that I need to, but I don't know, I guess I need a place to put my hand here. My hand is lost without having something to do. Okay, there's that. The cut is perfect. Let's save our little washi tape because I do want to do some additional cuts here. And remember what a hot mess that panel looked? Let's see how it looks in just a moment. Okay, I always try to do the little fling trick. Okay, whoop, there it comes out. Look at that. Isn't that fun? I love it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and I am going to cut out some additional layers, and then we're going to build that up. I will also go ahead and cut out some little shadow layers as well. And I'm going to utilize all of my little bent cardstock because it's just going to go right behind. So it'll be just fine. It's a good purpose for it. Okay, I am not going to worry about washi tape for this because I'm not trying to keep it in a certain spot for a pattern or a piece or anything. Let's see. I didn't quite clean out my wafer die, so I wonder if that's going to matter, but let's see. Okay, there we go. Looks like it was just fine. Okay, let me go ahead and do this a couple more times. We'll have some dimension to build upon, and then we'll continue building the card. And I am just using my little pokey end of my embellishment wand to remove my little die cut, and then I will continue on. Just tap these little guys off. I also, for things like this, I like to use, let me find it, I like to use this little scraper tool. There we go. Okay, so I'm all done with the lettering. I'm going to move on to the little shadow layer here using that same sandwich. Okay, so let's talk about pros and cons. So one of the cons would be the size, right? You're limited to, what did we say, 3 inches by, well, let me double check. I don't want to be wrong. I think it was 3 by 6.5. Yes, 3 by 6.5. So this would definitely be for smaller projects, right? That kind of goes without saying when you're getting a miniature size of anything. So that is one thing you want to be aware of. Now, again, to repeat myself, I do have full-size die cut machines, so that, you know, I can take that into consideration for my own personal purchase, and that doesn't matter as much to me because there are times when I just want to do a really quick little card. I know my pieces are going to be small, and a little tiny machine would be ideal. Also, if I am traveling, which may be coming up pretty soon, if I'm traveling, then this would be definitely easier to do a little crafting on the go. But you know what? Honestly, even in my craft space, sometimes I don't want to bring out my huge die cutting machine. I like to kind of keep mine tucked away when I'm not using them, so it'd be nice to have something quick and easy to bring out, not have to plug in. Okay, we have all of our little pieces here. I think so far my favorite thing is that the suction it's just level 10. It's amazing. I'm really happy with that. And I know that that's something silly to kind of find to be your favorite thing, but for me, I really love that. There's nothing worse, and I'm sure there is things that are worse, or are things that are worse, but I really don't like it when my machines are always like shifting and I'm having to, I don't know, it just drives me crazy. And I know those are really minimum things, but hey, if it matters to you, it matters to you. So let's go ahead and build up our little die cut pieces. I'm going to grab some of my Barely Art glue, and this is a nice liquid glue. It dries very quickly, has a nice precision tip, which is essential when doing paper crafting, especially at this size. Okay, and I'm just going to get those all built up one on the next. And you could skip this part and just do foam tape if you want. I have been really enjoying stacking paper upon paper. I just think that it's something that's so simple, but it really makes the card look really fun. So then you have a really nice, thick, almost chipboard looking and feeling piece. And I'll also bring in just a stamp block to bring in some weight there. Okay, let's do, you know what I did recently? I cleaned all of my little tweezers. I have multiple pairs and they were all getting so gummy from all of the paper crafting I'd been doing, plus with all of the glue. So I did a little craft room maintenance. If you missed my cleaning series, well, it really wasn't a series, it was just 2 videos, but I was doing a little clean my craft room with me, and I didn't do this part on camera, but I was very intentional about getting my scissors out and cleaning them because they were just getting all gummy. And let me tell you, I felt like $1,000,000 when I had those clean. It's one of those things I've been putting off and putting off. Because honestly, when you want to have a minute to craft, you want to craft and not be cleaning. But it is amazing to have nice, fresh craft supplies. So I designated my little mint pair to glue. And then I designated my white pair just to everything else. That way I can kind of minimize all of the, I don't know, stickiness just to one pair. And honestly, it took me, 30 seconds to clean off. So it really wasn't that big of a deal. But let me know if you put off little maintenance chores like that yourself. Again, when I get a half an hour or an hour to craft, that's the last thing I want to do. But every once in a while, you need to slow down, wipe down your keyboard, wipe down your countertops. And in the end, everything just is so refreshed. And then your creativity is so refreshed. Okay, so that is my TED Talk for today about cleaning your craft space. Okay. Now I have, again, 3 layers with my nice color layer on top. And that lined up really nice. I'm gonna press that down. Looks good. And we'll repeat that step and add this to our shadow layer, which will be so fun. Oh, that's nice. I really like it. I love the shape of this die cut. I've actually had this for a while now, and as you saw, just opened it up and trimmed it apart. I love this little sentiment too, because this can be for a variety of things. You could make this for a birthday card and just add a sub-sentiment that was a little bit more specific to a birthday. You could make this an encouragement card. I love that too. I love little more universal craft supplies that you can kind of tailor to the occasion that you are needing it for. Okay, so remember how crazy that ink blending looked, but all said and done, I think, to me, that looks pretty darn good. Okay, let's press that down, and we are ready to begin building our card. Bringing in my card base, I'm going to secure that with a couple magnets, that way it doesn't shift while I'm working. And then I'm also going to grab my little embossed panel. Love that embossing folder. That is super fun. It's kind of like a herringbone, if you will. And I'm also going to bring in some foam tape. Now, I like to, when I have an embossed panel like this, I like to back it with some substantial foam tape because no matter what weight, well, I guess I can't say no matter what weight, but for me it seems like no matter the weight cardstock I use, it always kind of seems a little bit more flimsy and a little distorted, if you will, once it's embossed. So the quickest way to remedy that and get it nice and crisp once more, to me, is foam tape. Just kind of flattens it right back out, and it's just perfect again. Okay, so now now again, this will be with I won't have equal margins around it, but I think that's kind of fun. Let's do something different. You also could, you know, put it off to the side if you want. That might be a little too much for me, but I kind of like this little idea. You also could trim down your card if you wanted your card to be a little bit smaller. Isn't that fun? Okay, now I'm gonna bring this little guy in, and here is my little fun card. Oh my gosh, it's so simple and so fun. I'm loving this. I'm gonna bring in my sticky tweezers because I'm gonna bring in glue, and let's add a little liquid glue right to the back here. And that glue will give us a little bit of wiggle room to move around. Whoa, there we go. But that looks pretty good to my eye. Yeah, I think that looks good. There we are. Press that down and let's get a little shine. Okay, I have these little sequins by Spellbinders. I'm not convinced I'll use them, but I always like to just try. Oh, that's kind of fun. These, they're kind of like, I think they're called Aura. Is that right? And they're fun because they have a little holographic look. And I think that would be actually really nice for this card. I was also thinking about my beloved little dewdrops that I bring in time and time again, but I think we can have a little playful fun and use something different. So, oh, these are fun. Oops, one kind of went in there, but I'm not mad about that. That could kind of be fun to maybe bring in, I don't know, maybe bring something onto the lettering or around. Well, I don't know. Kind of want to keep it. I feel like the biggest ones are kind of big. Hold on here. Yeah, that's too big for me. Okay. Sticking everywhere. And I might do a couple or maybe a little trio of groupings of 2, and I think that could be super fun. So what if I did, I'm gonna do something like that. I think that's simple. I think it's fun. I'm just gonna go with it and not overthink it. In fact, I might just drop 1. And I think that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Okay, so let's add 2 up here. And there we go. We'll add our little Lone Ranger right there, and then we'll do 2 down here. Super fun. I like those. That's a really fun little sequence. I like that. All right, so there is my finished card that I used creating my new little mini die cut machine. I really like this. I think it is super fun. I'm really obsessed with the really powerful suction that it has. I think that's really fun. Plus, I really like the size of it. It went ahead and suctioned to my glass craft mat perfectly. I love how it just was so easy to use. I also really like how simple all of the little plate sandwiches are. I thought that that was really, really nice, super easy to remember. As you could see after a while, I wasn't even referencing the little instructions based on the little etchings on the side. I think they're easy to use and easy to remember what you need to use for doing each task. So I hope you enjoyed this. I had fun unboxing this and playing around with it. I always like getting new things from time to time, and this was definitely a purchase that has been in my craft cart for quite a while, and I finally clicked purchase. I'm really happy I did. I hope this inspired you as well, and I'll see you in the next video.